Oh, I'm live now. Okay. So yeah, I wanted to do a video basically on just different stereotypes people might have of swirlers that kind of, I guess, gets um, that I don't appreciate, things of that nature. So first off, a major thing that really does annoy me about that I notice often on colorism, having to somehow do with swirling and divesting. Um, I've said that over a few times. It to me it makes me uncomfortable because I don't have any experience with that. Also, other things that kind of annoy me with divestors, and always talk about having dated black men. Like if you're interracially gay, if you are a divestor, you must have black men at some point. You moved on to something like that. I think that kind of is one of my pet. What what implies that just because that you dated, your own race, it's almost like people just because their preference, everyone's preferences, is pretty obnoxiously, because why do you assume everyone's attracted to the same thing you are? It's like how straight people straight or work. I don't really think anyone's the same preference overall, and I don't think anyone should be expected to be attracted to anything specifically, because people vary so much in their attraction to different types of people. And another thing is, the hate for, black men that is associated with being a divester, being a swirler, being into interracial dating. And that's also on the other flip side of it, kind of. I've how some people do seem to think it's associated with swirling on both sides. And honestly, kind of goes to the part where it has to do with how people associate self-hate with, dating outside of one's race. And I mean, self-hate does not create sexual attraction, honestly. I mean, like, people can hate themselves and have no attraction towards other races. And we see that all the time. So I don't understand why people always think that self-hate has to do with it. Because I mean, like, in reality, people can't control who they're attracted to. So, I mean, like, if we can't control who we're attracted to, I don't think self hate can control what you're attracted to either. So, I mean, it has to come from somewhere naturally. Otherwise, it's never going to last. It's going to just be something someone tried to fake maybe once or twice, but they're not really going to want to do it. They're not going to regularly do it. Who's going to regularly be with something they have no attraction to? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. That people act like, self-hatred or devaluing something will make you attracted to someone else. That's not how it works. I mean, true, if you're attracted to both races, you might have it where one race you are into more because that is hyped up, which isn't to me the same, obviously, as someone who is solely only attracted to one specific ethnicity, whether that's their ethnicity or some other ethnicity. But either way, I just think like self-hate being associated with this is just so ignorant, because it's like, you really think self-hate can grow an attraction? That doesn't make sense. It's either there or it isn't, in my opinion. The capability to be attracted to other races. And I mean, some people don't act on that. I do know that. And they might prefer to stay within their race for whatever reason. But to me, I mean, like, at least the ability to be attracted to other races has to be there. Do you think, like, for example, um, if like for some reason I was around like racist Asian people all my life, and well, I mean, say I went to a racist Asian country or something like that, and I mean, maybe over time, they were the only people I saw, or, that was all that I was presented with. Do you think I would be able to change my interest into Asian men, even though I have no interest in Asian men? Like, I probably wouldn't be able to do that. I'd probably just be single, because I don't have that in me to have any interest in Asian looking men, you know? I think that applies to anyone else. I don't think anyone can really do anyone wrong enough for them to be attracted to something else, you know? And that's another thing. Like, often I find it, as a person who does date interracially, that people who are against like interracial dating often try and act like they hope, that it goes wrong, in hopes that, I guess, like hop the fence and actually deal with like darker skinned black men. And it's like, from my point of view, it's like, I don't like, if I don't have any attraction, it wouldn't matter who did what to me. I mean, like, everybody could just like say, we hate you, we hate you, we hate you, we hate you. How am I gonna grow an attraction to something that I have no attraction to? It's like if all men basically said, we hate you, we hate you, we hate you, we'll never be with you, period. Then do you think I would just go with girls? I mean, as a straight woman, do you really think I'll just go with girls because I'm not interested in, I'm not interesting, I guess, to other men or whatever. So, I mean, I never understand that. It's like people really don't understand that. They don't really understand how some people can be not really attracted, like, honestly, not really attracted to their own, race. Some people just don't find their own race attractive. And I mean, like, I don't understand why that's hard to believe. I mean, some people don't find the opposite sex attractive. That's not shocking to you. Then I don't understand why just a race, a color, really surprises you. I mean, hey, it's the same thing that you guys are attracted to, just a different color. I don't know. Um, Also, there's this other thing. Like, people like to talk about racism involving interracial dating. And it's like, I'm just saying, let's not even talk about dating, but like in life in general, honestly, being completely honest, more racism that I've ever experienced from people is actually generally from people of color. Like, generally black people, and most definitely Hispanic people. I've chronicled how Hispanic people have been really racist to my mother and to me in the past. And, just different things from black people. It's more an open racist comment that they might say, like for example, they might say stuff that I find really offensive, like asserting like being mixed is a compliment, for example, which in my opinion is an insult because you basically said you hate half of me. Then there's also with this whole situation with, racism, people then talk about like, all the issues black people have and stuff with, I guess, racial injustice or whatever, and things of that nature. And I don't really buy into it in the first place. So, I mean, like, if I don't have sympathy for it and it's never been a problem for me, then how do you expect me to really think like that there's really any issue with, Also, this kind of goes into how I feel about different cultures. Because people always say, like, when they are crossing cultures and dating outside of their culture, that it is outside of their comfort. And for me, it's like, it's never been outside of my comfort. But you know what has been outside of my comfort, honestly, was for me, like I said, I've been attracted to mixed race men. And mixed race men who act like they come more from a culture that I do not find familiar are very uncomfortable for me. Like they basically seem like they are basically from a different culture, in my opinion. And I mean, like, now that is more out of my norm, honestly. Now, does that mean that all mixed men are of that nature? No. It's just some mixed men that I think are more into what people call black culture. And like, I guess in that sense, I can agree to some extent, that I'm sorry, I think this is too loud. I'm not sure. Anyway, um, what was I saying? Yeah, I just feel like with black culture, people always assume that if you're black, you must be familiar with black culture, which I've said in the past. No, some black people are not familiar with black culture. Therefore, some things that people associate with like black culture and like going outside of that can be an issue for them, won't be an issue for someone like me, for example. And honestly, it kind of works the opposite way. And that's how I feel sometimes a lot of people in the black community just don't understand me in any sense of the word. And many of the time, I don't even try to explain myself or get them to understand me because why try that when in honesty, I mean, like, they're never going to understand. So that's one thing. Also, another thing is some people act surprised when I'm not attracted to unattractive men. And I mean, like, sometimes people act like just because I'm attracted to white men, that means I'm attracted to all white men, which is really annoying to me because it's like, no, do people who like, do you think that women who like black men like all black men? Some people do who are really ignorant, but I just don't think that. Honestly, just find man attractive and quiet. To me, I honestly would say I'm more so picky with white men than I am with other races because, like, well, it depends. I'll get into that later, actually, honestly. because for me, I have different types of white men that I like. Usually, I like all white men, but of different phenotypes. I'm saying not all white men, but all phenotypes of white. But not like it depends. Basically, anyway. Um, I also find this weird. Like it weirds me out. People always talk about black men and the things that they have to, I guess, offer or the appeal that some people think is an appeal. Like, some people act like their penis, however, being big and black is an appeal. And personally, for me, it's always been like that stereotype one isn't true. Because for me, one, I find this annoying because as a black woman, when I'm dating, I find it annoying because there's an assumption among black women that we basically, need very large, you know, down there to please us. And I'm like not of that type. I'm quite the opposite, honestly. And when I'm dating, it kind of is annoying because I always run into, and I'm not into endowed men. I really am not. I'm more probably could. I mean, like for me, honestly, I could easily get off of much smaller. Um, but I just find it like for me, I've gotten on this one website that had like a site that was actually talking about having like smaller down there, and I ran into so many black men, so many black men, and I mean like people always act like you know they're more endowed, but it's like I don't understand how they're endowed if they are. I mean like the average they have isn't really any different from other people's average, in my opinion. Um, and honestly, by the looks of my goodness, really scary down there, honestly. To me, I just think that they, yeah. I don't want to seem too mean or anything, but I just wanted to come across that part that affects me as an interracial dater and how it affects me, basically, which isn't good because there's an assumption about black women in the process. So then there's this whole other, like, I find it like a lot of people who are into like interracial dating, this is what kind of weirds me out about some platforms that are for divestors and swirlers is that sometimes they are against women who are for um being with black men or like they are with black men. To me, the way I see it is like I don't have any issue with black women who are with black men. I just I just don't want to be with a black man. But I don't care what other people do. Now, honestly, I would not like it if dark-skinned black women were not with black men as a whole, because then how do dark-skinned black women continue? Like, there won't be any dark-skinned black women. Why do I want the erasure of dark-skinned black women? I think dark-skinned black women are beautiful. I think they're ideal. And to have erased or without dark-skinned black men, I mean, there would be no dark-skinned black woman. So to me, I definitely do appreciate, some woman being with a black man to create more beautiful, ideal, exotic, dark-skinned black women. I would never want them to be erased. Pro dark, I want them to have relationships here. So I mean, like, I want them to find love just as much as anyone else. So I don't want them stuck with dark-skinned black men who are bad for them. But I'm just saying that for ones that want to find good dark-skinned black men, that's fine with me. I don't really have an issue with that. Um, but yeah, I just I don't really have any issue with that. Then there's this whole part to certain parts to basically Black YouTube that I wanted to touch upon. Basically, I've always noticed that the manosphere and divestors sometimes can seem similar. Now, I don't think that they are the same at all because one is a response to the other. But some parts do seem like it, like when it is more based in colorism to me. When it's more based in colorism, it's basically the dark skinned black man, you know, is upset with being dark skinned and trying to erase himself. And then the other way is kind of like the dark skinned black woman is upset about how she's been treated and things of that nature and is doing something similar to that. Now, I don't think that that's really what she wants to do, though, because it's because of colorism in those cases. So then it's not in the same vein. It's kind of a cause and effect. So, like I've always said with black men, they kind of like basically they are perpetuators of colorism. That's why they are the ones who often say, things like mix is better than black and things of that nature. So to me, I don't see them as similar in any sense like that. So other things that I have though heard some people kind of talk about that kind of was like, well, that again just doesn't hit. Like, for example, people often try and act like certain people who interracially date will be fetishized by whoever they're dating. If they're black, and they're a black man, or if they're a black woman, they'll be fetishized, especially if they're a black woman. And it's like all the things that people say about fetishizing, it's like, can I have the features first for someone to fetishize me over these things? Because I mean, like, I don't have any of the things people usually talk about fetishizing. So to me, it's like, I don't really, I, I'm like, I don't understand why you make blanket assumptions about people when, I mean, like, you have to know who and how someone is in order to know if it applies. And, like, people always act like, they will fetishize you for having a big butt, for example. And it's like, as a very petite woman who is 100 pounds and 5'1", I'm not concerned about any big butt because it's not on me. I mean, if he's fetishizing my butt, I'm assuming he's going to fetishize his own big butt. I'm pretty sure his butt's bigger than mine. So, I mean, like, people really don't think, they just assume a black woman is this and this and that or whatever. Like, they don't actually think of the different situations basically an interracial dater might be in. Other things like being darker skinned, for example, having a chocolate complexion, of course, for me it would not apply. I'm not dark skinned. Or the thing about fetishization of bigger lips, to me, is just so weird because all all women of all races have bigger lips sometimes, and men like that on them too. So I don't really get what that has to do with it. It's just weird. That's weird. Heck. Um, then this other thing that kind of like annoys me the most is like people who think just because you're like attracted to white men, it's because they're white that you're attracted to. Me, I've always not really liked very fair skinned men, even though I've dated them. It's just usually for me, like I've always um like brown men that are like Arab, Indian, Southern European, Italian, more color, I guess you could say. But yeah, I just find it weird that people just assume that's why though, because for me it's like it's not for skin tone or anything like that. It's basically for me it's just mostly a preference based off of the person. Like, does he have an attractive face? Basically, an attractive body, nice hair, things like that. And that applies in men of all sorts of ethnicities. But I've really thought about it, and generally I have thought, well, mostly, most of my interest to be men of Caucasian, even with large of a preference I can have. Anyway, this kind of it's how I feel about how people attention to the fact not every people how and like people pay attention much. Me, there's things that I've been attracted to people I did to. So I mean, like if I could control attracted to be based on I don't even think I'd be more focused to really mess, these people, but it's really comfortable to be attracted to. And I feel like that it's not always what's just a matter of what, and their sex, what it was, you know. So basically, attraction, or like opinions, is kind of just basically kind of um, lost connection, I guess. There, I was almost done anyway, though. I was just saying, I don't really think that men act better based on race, and I don't really feel like you you can really think that just off of some bad relationship or off of some issue with oneself that someone would actually develop an attraction to someone that they're not attracted to in the first place. So to me, trying to act like, up in the past, that can't make so. I am one that does not develop attraction to anyone. It's kind of just like a 10 to 20-second thing. But yeah, that's about it. I'm going to end this live. About all I have to say on that. Thanks for watching. Bye. Oh, hi, Harry Thornberry. Thank you for watching. Thanks. Bye.